You're tuned in to the Ross Tucker Football Podcast, guiding your gridiron journey, none other than your host, former NFL lineman, Ross Tucker.
Oh, yeah, it is. But it's not just any Ross Tucker Football Podcast. It is a teaching tutorial Thursday, a fun one today. We've got super agent Drew Rosenhaus in the house. Rosenhaus in the house. Looking forward to finding out more and learning some. I want to learn today about what the agent business is like now, how it's changed, maybe some of his clients this year, Blake Corum, Javon Bullard, of course, J.C. Latham, the first round pick. Looking forward to talking with Drew momentarily. But you know what? I try to do it every week. I love all the listeners and everybody that watches us, youtube.com/Ross Tucker NFL. I like to reward those of you that go the extra mile, like Michael Rowley, who quote posted Emery's comment about Keon Coleman getting buckets, comparing him to George Pickens. Quote posted a clip from the college draft. Michael, you're the winner. Send me an email, ross@rosstucker.com. Let me know whether you'd rather have a signed picture or football card or one of these awesome press passes from last season. Speaking of that, the sponsor confirmation email winner, Doug Wickstead. Doug got his wife, I think I can't remember if it was his wife or his mom, one of them, a story from myfrontpagestory.com. By far the best Mother's Day gift I've ever heard of. And it's automatic. I mean, Doug's the winner, but it's automatic if you get a loved one. The best Mother's Day gift I'm aware of, coolest, most unique of all time, myfrontpagestory.com. You automatically get a signed autograph. And then the YouTube shout out, youtube.com/Ross Tucker NFL. That's John Abril. And he literally just commented on a YouTube video saying, hey, Ross, I'm just here for the autograph. So, John, hit me up with an email now, ross@rosstucker.com. It's Big Show time.
The Big Show.
Well, we don't talk with agents very often here on the Ross Tucker Football Podcast, but you get a chance to talk with Drew Rosenhaus, especially after the NFL draft just took place. You have to take that opportunity. Drew, thanks so much for coming on the show, man. Really appreciate it.
Happy to be here, Ross. Yeah, it was a crazy 3 days. I don't think people realize what you do as an agent with the draft. It is unbelievable. I was in the green room Thursday night with J.C. Latham, who went 7th overall to the Texans, and then hustled over to a town called Milledgeville, Georgia, in rural Georgia, about 2 hours outside of Atlanta, with Javon Bullard from the University of Georgia, the safety who went in the second round to the Packers. And then I flew to Miami to be on Saturday with a day 3 client of ours named Jarvis Brownlee, who was drafted in the 5th round, a cornerback out of Louisville, also by the Titans. And just the drama, just being around the families, the anxiety that they feel before they get picked, the jubilation once they're selected. There's a lot of ups and downs, a lot of highs and lows, but there's nothing like the NFL draft.
Yeah, and Drew, you've been a part of it for a long time, man. You've been a part of it since I was in college, watching the draft before I was in it. I guess
Right.
That's one question I have, and we'll get back to your guys in particular. But what's sort of the biggest changes to the draft and maybe just the whole process that you've seen over the last 30 plus years?
Yeah, so this was my 36th NFL draft as an agent, and I remember going to the draft when a handful of people showed up at Radio City Music Hall in New York City. They were like football geeks and football nerds that would show up and comment on the picks. Now you get a million people out there. It's unbelievable that it's on 3 different networks and the ratings were equivalent to like a football game. The draft has just grown tremendously since my first one in 1988. So that really comes to mind, just how big a production it is and how huge it is. And Ross, it's just amazing to see it travel around the country and attract hundreds of thousands of fans and, really score huge ratings. The NFL is just an amazing product, and the draft is just another part of, the incredible popularity I've witnessed over the last 3 decades.
Yeah, it's crazy. I'm curious, Drew, when you were starting, were there a lot of people that wanted to be agents? Because I'd say since my rookie year in '01, I've talked to so many people, especially in the last 15 years, like they really want to be an agent. I'm always like, yeah, good luck, bro. I mean, that is
Yeah.
a tough business to crack into now. What was it like late 80s or early 90s? Was there still that many guys, or was it easier to kind of get in and get clients back then?
I think it was definitely easier when I broke in 1988. Remember, I was 22 years old. I was a law student at Duke University. And my second year, when I first became an agent, it was so different. Now you've got super agencies and NIL, and you pay for the guys' training, and it's marketing's a big part of it, and none of that existed when I first broke in. When the business really took off in terms of people wanting to be agents was right after Jerry Maguire. When Tom Cruise played an agent, I mean, it just added this layer of interest where people saw that movie. It was a mainstream movie. It wasn't like a football movie. It was a top movie, and that really, I think, drew a lot of people to the industry that wanted to be like Jerry Maguire. They thought they'd get Renee Zellweger out of it, or Kelly Preston, or represent one guy and like a Cuba Gooding's character, Rod Tidwell, and become a star. But it isn't an easy profession. It's very challenging. I went to law school at Duke and paid my dues, and I work extremely hard. I work 7 days a week, year round, around the clock. There's no breaks. There's no vacations. People are like, oh, the draft's over, you can relax. Come on, are you kidding me? We're working on contract extensions and free agency and getting a rookie signed, and trades and guys coming off of surgeries, and it's a year-round profession. There's no downtime. Teams are getting ready for OTAs, and the off season's about to crank up, and clients are calling me. They're not happy with their playing time. They want more, or they want to be traded, or they want a new contract, or guys get released. The NFL's fluid year round. Nothing stays the same. So as an agent, you're like water. You're constantly moving, and it's an incredible challenge right now with NIL, because that's year round and that's eternal. We used to recruit, juniors and seniors and for 6 months, and that was it. Now you can sign guys out of high school or in high school and true freshmen, and you got to be working around the clock for the NIL guys too.
I was just going to ask you about that. How have things changed with NIL? I mean, are you talking to high school kids? Are you talking to true freshmen? I guess it sounds like you kind of have to on some level.
Yeah, we do sign guys that are true freshmen. We typically sign guys that are in college or entering college, and you start working for them on their marketing, on their endorsements, on their public relations, media relations, charitable work. And so for us, we had to hire a lot more staff to add to the NIL work, because we didn't want to take away from the work that we do for our, approximately 100 or so active NFL clients. So for us, we've had to expand. We have to address a different clientele, but you don't complain, man. You just roll up your sleeves and you go to work and you make the most of it. A lot of the guys that we represent in the draft this year were NIL clients. Like I mentioned, JC Latham, who was the 7th overall pick. Our relationship with him started 2 years ago as an NIL client. So we're grateful for that, and we'll keep it going.
I was just going to ask you about JC in particular and when that relationship started. So I had seen the night before, Drew, a couple of mocks that had JC Latham going to the Chargers at 5, including Daniel Jeremiah, who does the Chargers games on the radio, and Peter Schrager, who's usually pretty locked in. So I thought, oh, he's going there. I thought that's where he's going. I'm guessing maybe you did too. Just walk me through where you were at with JC. Did you think he was going to the Chargers? Did you know he wasn't? How did that unfold?
We thought that it was unlikely that they were going to take him, and the primary reason for that is the Chargers did not bring JC in for a top 30 visit. Historically, when a team invests a top 5 pick, they will bring the player to the facility, meet with all the coaches, go through a very extensive process. For the Chargers, they did send their offensive line coach to JC's pro day, but there wasn't a lot of interaction outside of the combine between JC and Coach Harbaugh or Joe Ortiz, the new GM. So we didn't feel the love, for example, that we did with some of the other teams. So we were not banking on that. We did think that if he got to Tennessee, he would be picked by the Titans. There was a very strong relationship there leading up to the draft that did not exist with the Chargers by comparison.
Absolutely love the landing spot. From Nashville is amazing. I mean, not that Los Angeles is bad, but Nashville is incredible. Last time I was there, just walking up and down Broadway, just drinking beers, going into all those honky tonks. Absolutely amazing. Drew, my beer of choice is Labatt Blue Light. Drink it with your friends. Live life to the power of we. Always enjoy responsibly. Beer, Labatt USA, Buffalo, New York. Drew, do you think that agents have an impact on where a player gets drafted?
I do. I do for sure. We have a lot of communication with the teams. Certainly last year with Jalen Carter, we were very involved in the discussions with the Eagles leading up to them drafting him and working through a lot of the legal issues and concerns that the Eagles had. With JC, we were integrally involved in talking to all the teams. Certainly would never take any credit for a client getting drafted. That's based on our client's ability and their hard work and their talent. But we definitely are very involved in the process, setting up these different interviews and meetings and interaction with the coaches and the general managers. And listen, leading up to the draft, I had a lot of conversations with teams about who was interested in JC, where I thought he was going to go. And there's a lot of cat and mouse. At the end of the day, I don't want to minimize what an agent's role is, because if you work at it, you can help your clients.
So since you're in on it on the NIL side, you probably are as good as anyone to talk about this. A lot of talk about not as many guys leaving school early. A lot of guys have that COVID year. Can you just talk from your perspective, Drew, about how true that is, that maybe late round guys or undrafted guys are staying in school because, that they know they got something guaranteed that's pretty decent with the NIL stuff?
Yeah, I'm fine. I think that's a good component of NIL. I think it's great that fewer guys come out early. I think it's good for players that are not going to be a high pick to work on their craft and develop their skills for life after football, make the most of college and higher education, development and seasoning and maturation. If they're not going to be a high pick, is a good thing. It's a really tough sport. It's a tough transition from college to the NFL. So I think it's outstanding that more guys are staying in school to maximize their ability. Now, if you're going to be drafted early, to me, it's a no-brainer. You got to go get that guaranteed money And NIL will never compete with the NFL money, except for a handful of superstar quarterbacks. At the end of the day, NIL is a wonderful thing for the players because it puts money in their pocket that they haven't had the opportunity to earn. We need some more rules. I think it would be great for the sport of college football to have a level playing field where every college and has plays by the same rules. I think it'll be good for parity, and you won't have super teams that just have the deep pockets getting all the good players out of for NIL reasons, or the collectives. I think it would be amazing. NIL is incredible, but it'd be nice to have structure. In the NFL, we've got structure. We have free agency after 4 years. We have a draft that's weighted based on win-loss records. We have a salary cap. We have a waiver system in the NFL. None of that exists in college right now. It's an absolute free-for-all. So I don't think that's great for anybody. It's not great for the players, not great for the coaches, and most of all, not great for the fans. So I'm hoping that we can develop rules and structure that will enable NIL to be fantastic.
I want to finish up, Drew, where I started, which is you talking about going from client to client to client those first 3 days. Drew, that's got to be, for me, the coolest part of look, I know there's a lot of negative and headaches of being an agent, trust me, but those videos, they get me every year, man, because it like immediately transforms me back to when the Redskins called. I'm in my dorm room, 2001. Like, it's just, you know how important that is to that person and the whole family. Because I was thinking, I'm sure you're doing it because it's the right thing to do for an agent, as an agent, to be there for your client, but also probably the best part of your job, right? I mean, is the best part of your job like being there with the family when their dream comes true and being in the room, like in the place where it happens,
It's not as idyllic as it sounds, because that process of waiting until you get the phone call is absolutely a pressure cooker. And there's a couple hundred people looking at you and like, hey, Drew, how come we haven't been pick-jacked? So, or why did this safety go ahead of, why did Tyler Nubin go to the Giants, instead of Javon? Javon was the second safety draft, and I had a lot of people looking at me at that point like, hey, what gives, or with Brownlee, we thought he had a chance to go in the 3rd round, and he wound up going in the 5th round. So it is stressful. It's painful every time another guy gets picked. For the families, they don't all appreciate, the process. But once that call comes, the payoff is worth it. And I love seeing guys go from, in one phone call, college to being in the NFL and fulfilling the first part of their dream of making it to the league, and then going from there. It's just the beginning, but man, it's a sweet feeling to see those guys know what team they're going to be playing for and instantly becoming millionaires, and the best is yet to come for them.
Drew, can't thank you enough for the time. Love the stories. Very curious to hear about some of those things. I hadn't really talked to an agent about how different it is with NIL and all that stuff, transfer portal. Thanks so much for coming on the show, man. Really appreciate it.
You bet. You do a great job, man. Keep it going.
Boy, I try to take notes sometimes while I'm talking with the guests, just so I know what I think is the most interesting stuff for clips for social media afterwards. There was a lot from Drew. I mean, I had a lot written down from Drew Rosenhaus. That was some excellent stuff. You know what else is excellent? The Game Time app. Huge fan of the Game Time app. Anytime I'm getting tickets for anything, the first thing I check now is the Game Time app. So tonight, Sixers hosting the Knicks, Game 6. The tickets are $134 on the Game Time app, but they've got last-minute deals. So you can save up to 60% off buying last minute for sports, concerts, comedy, theater, etc. So Friday night, Saturday night, not sure what to do? Pull out the Game Time app. Take the guesswork out of buying NBA tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code ROSS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. So again, create an account and redeem code ROSS for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, and here's the key: lowest price guaranteed.
Tuck's Takes.
All right, Ross. My favorite, uniform news. Running back Zeke Elliott will actually wear number 15 with the Cowboys this time around.
Your thoughts on that, Jack? Because everybody that has a 21 jersey, I mean, maybe it's just because it was his college number and he wore it last year, or maybe this is Zeke thinking, you know what? I'll make some more money. I'll have people have to buy a different number jersey. Your thoughts?
So I'd assume this was, obviously when he was in Dallas the first stint, they didn't have the uniform change to allow running backs to wear numbers in the teens and single digits. So I think he always wanted to wear 15, but he couldn't because of the league rules, and now this is an opportunity he has. So that's why I think he did it personally.
Oh, that's a good point, Jack. That's probably why it is. That's a really good point. See, that's why you're here. You provide value sometimes. I actually have a take on this. I'm going to make it my Labatt take of the week, presented by Labatt Blue Light, the pristine Canadian Pilsner. Enjoy your beers together so you can live life to the power of we. Always enjoy responsibly. Beer, Labatt USA, Buffalo, New York. I have a couple friends that are Cowboys fans. This is probably the saddest offseason I've ever seen them have. I mean, the whole thing is like George Costanza in a Seinfeld episode. Well, trying to get better in the offseason, like bringing in Stephon Gilmore and Brandon Cooks, that hasn't gotten us where we wanted to go. So let's do the opposite. Let's do nothing to try to get better. Let's watch Biotish leave and Tyron Smith leave and Tony Pollard leave and replace them with a couple of rookie draft picks who may or may not be good players, or bring back Zeke Elliott. It's sad. It's a sad offseason for the Cowboys, where the owner says they're all in and then their actions say they're all out. Maybe it'll work for them. Maybe it'll be like that Seinfeld episode. I guess we'll see.
And then, Ross, do you have any thoughts on Roger Goodell's comments to Pat McAfee regarding the 18-game season?
Not a surprise. I guess what is a surprise is that it sounds like they're going to try to get this done before the CBA expires at the end of the decade. He brought it up for a reason. He's kind of setting the table for negotiations while they're still under a CBA, to which I would say, if that's the case, NFLPA really needs to try to get a lot, right? Like if they're trying to change the CBA in the middle of it, NFLPA needs to go out of their way to make sure that they really make it worth their while, as opposed to like, you know, if it's the agreement's expired and there could be a lockout or whatever.
Yeah. So speaking of surprises, Ross, I'm hijacking the end of the show. I have scoured the deep depths of the internet and I have stumbled upon, I'll unbox it live for you, a Ross Tucker Cowboys jersey. Not just any Ross Tucker Cowboys jersey. A signed, I don't know where you can see, a signed Ross Tucker Cowboy jersey. I don't know what I'm going to do with this, but I saw it was the only one I could find. I had to get it. Your thoughts?
Number one, how much money did you spend on that?
We don't talk finances on the show. It's a proprietary comment. Don't worry about it.
Okay. I was going to say number two, was that your own money or did you use the RT Media credit card?
I know you don't allow, I don't think you would allow me to indulge in my own collections on company dime. So this was a personal expenditure. Might be a business expense because I used it for the show. You know what's so
funny? I just happened to look for no, you know what? One of my friends, Jack, their daughter is doing a book report or something, or a presentation on famous Pennsylvanians, and they wanted to do me, which I think is hilarious because they know me. So they were going to buy that. They saw that online. They were going to buy it. I was like, no, don't do that. I got like a little one that she can wear. It's a girl. I got a little one that she can wear to school. You guys don't have to pay for it. So I actually saw that was being sold. I'm always like amazed. Who did I give that to at some point that they're actually selling it? It kind of makes me sad, but I guess I understand it. Maybe they grew out of it, whatever. That is epic. That was a good surprise. I was very concerned, Jack, but that was good. Well done. I think we're done here.
Thanks for tuning in to the Ross Tucker Football Podcast. Make sure to also check out Even Money, Fantasy Feast, and College Draft, all on the DraftKings Network on Samsung TV Plus, YouTube, or subscribe to the podcast on your favorite platform.
Shout out myfrontpagestory.com. I told you earlier in the show, automatic signed press pass if you get this for any of the moms in your life. BackOfficeSchedule.com, SteakhouseSports.com, HumanHeadNYC.com, Sporticulture, Pizza Boy Brewing.